Welcome back to Red Hawk Media. Today we put the finishing touches on our zombie activity. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, and we're going to work with the puppet transform or puppet warp tool today. And we're also going to kind of put the finishing touches on the eyes and burning and all that stuff. So we've applied textures, some color masking at this point. Let's go ahead and get started. I've made a selection with the lasso tool around an area that I'm going to puppet warp. A lot of people are asking, oh, how can I get that Joker look or the Joker smile and that? This would be exactly how you do it. So with the selection made with the lasso tool, we're going to go ahead and puppet warp that section. First, we're going to copy it. So we're going to copy the layer below here. Make sure we're on the right layer. And I'm going to copy that. And then switch over to the other layer, paste it on there. And now I'm going to go about puppet warping it. This is in the same area as the free transform, and then you see puppet warp. This gives us a lot of opportunities here to shape this in different ways. What I'm going to do is at some of the key points around the mouth, I'm going to drop in different pins. Those will allow me to stretch between those areas here exactly the way I want. And around the mouth, I went up on the cheek area here because that is one of the first spots that I'm actually going to stretch. Just to show you how this works. I'm going to create a gruesome kind of mouth setup here. Grabbing some of the different areas. Bringing this up quite a bit. Let's bring this one up a little bit more. Let's add in another pin. And we gotta be careful having too few pins because it starts to stretch between them in awkward ways. Got almost like a two-face mouth here going on. And drag it up on the cheek a little bit more, and that looks pretty good. When you're happy with what you've got there, you can go ahead and hit enter. And then it changes that. Now you can see some distinct lines here that cause problems. So we gotta start blending this in with the layer below. One of the things we can do is we can actually take the eraser around the edge. Since we kept the other layer below there, we can take the eraser and take away some of what's going on there. So we put it down pretty low, put the opacity down pretty low here. And we can get a decent sized brush, blow that up, and now we can start to go along the edges here. And you can see it, the line kind of melding in a little bit better here with stuff that's underneath. And sometimes you have to go over it a few times. I'm just holding down the button, painting over that. Any of the hard edges here, just erasing that away little by little here. Blending that in. Another thing that you can do is you can grab the blur tool. And with the blur tool on, I set it 50% here. Go ahead and come in here, blur around the edges as well. That helps blend it in a little bit more. And I'm going to keep going through this process till I've actually got it all the way worked in there. Okay, here we are. We've come back after I've cleaned up the mouth here on the puppet transform. I've added in some blood, we warped some stuff, and then I added in these nasty teeth. To give you kind of an idea of this process, grabbed this image of the teeth here, blinking on and off here, grabbed that online, and then I cut out the teeth and put them to some different layers. For instance, copied the top teeth onto that layer, and then I copied the bottom teeth onto that layer. Now I had to fill in all of the darkness behind there, so I created a black shape. Looks like this, and we'll click off that. And that's kind of all the different layers that we've got going here to make this work. Okay, go ahead and put those all back on. And we've got it all pieced together. Now, at the end of all this, once I get things kind of arranged the way that I want to be able to burn it and mix it all back together. So, one of the things that I'm going to do here is I'm going to merge all of these layers together. I'm going to leave off the top one because that's my first tooth image here. So I take all these and I'm merging the layers. So now they're back down to one layer. Let's go ahead and delete the one that I don't need anymore. And now we're ready to grab the burn tool again and start adding on a little texture to some of this. So we want the blood to come in a little bit more, get the teeth a little bit darker so they're kind of matching the shading of everything else that's on here. The lips are pretty pink, so we're going to go around the edges there, darken those up. Are you looking for the printer? Yeah. And I just keep going around there until I get it all darkened up the way that I want here. And we get that all blended in. Still need to darken that up more up there. And you keep going through that process here. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, the final thing is the eyes. I'm going to grab the lasso tool here, and I'm going to select the spot that I'm going to be working with so that I don't actually paint outside of it. If I grab a little bit extra, that's alright. I'm going to go ahead, oh, my bad. Try this again. Select around here. Alright, now let's go ahead and zoom in. Command plus, quick zoom. And then we're going to grab our paintbrush and a good black color. Or if you want to go with the red eye theme or the white eye theme, whichever one you want to go with there, they all work. You could use the clone brush during this process too. But the main thing is I want to keep that shine in there. So now at this point, I can go ahead and actually let's do Command Option C here for a moment. I'm going to create a new layer for this just in case it doesn't quite work out. And on this new layer, see I can go right over the edges here, go all the way around, and I'm going to bring this in here. Now I got to be careful not to get rid of that glare that's in the middle, because that's what creates the really creepy effect that it's real eyes. And we got that all colored in here. Okay, now on that layer I can tinker with the opacity a little bit so it doesn't look so unnatural. Okay, I can bring it up pretty high there. Got a little bit of the glare that's on there naturally, and that's looking pretty good. I'd repeat that process for this second eye here. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom back out. Command minus. We've got that in there now. I'm going to have to erase around the edges a little bit, kind of clean it up. So I go in here, grab my eraser, and I'm going to clean up around these edges just so I can see exactly what I want. And I've got a feathered brush on here so that it takes out a little bit too much there. And it helps if you click and stop clicking every now and then so that you can make adjustments. Oh, I see what you did. So, I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. That's actually going to conclude our tutorial for today. Go ahead and wrap up your eyes, and then tomorrow we'll do the finishing touches to save it as a PNG. Thanks again for joining us for our Zombify activity. This is part 3 of a multi-part series. We'll see you again.